Good evening, dear learners. I am Dr. Shashank Srivastava from the School of Engineering and Technology, IGNOU. So today I am going to present before you a topic that is known as job safety analysis, and this forms a part of your course in PG certificate in industrial safety program, which is being run by the School of Engineering and Technology. So, what are the actually objectives of this particular unit, which we are going to discuss today? First of all, we have to understand the need of job safety analysis and the procedures involved in it. Then we need to know about the need of safeguarding and the various methods of providing safeguard. Then we have to carry out the job safety analysis and safeguarding of a particular shop floor. And what is the need actually? The need is that we want to have a safe environment for the shop floor worker. That means that to provide a risk-free environment both to the personnel as well as our machines which we are using in the workshop or the shop floor. So we want to give such an environment to our personnel as well as to the machines. And it has been noticed that lack of appropriate training of the employees in proper job procedure results in job related mishaps, injuries and fatalities that occur every day in the shop floor or any kind of workshop or in the workplace. There are various incidents that are being reported in the industry about certain workers getting injured or the machine failure, things like that. So we have to take care of these things. So what are the steps in job safety analysis? First of all, we have to establish proper job procedures. What are the various steps in doing a certain job? Then we have to train all the employees in doing their work in a proper manner, which is much safer and more efficient. And these kind of methods have to be put in place to prevent workplace injuries. And we have to very carefully and meticulously study and record each step of the job in order to provide a safe environment to the personnel working there and to avoid any kind of mishap to the machine as well. So we have to identify the existing or the potential job hazards which are related both to safety as well as health. And what are the hazards? Hazards are actually the problems or the obstacles that one faces while working in the workshop or the shop floor. So there can be various types of hazards. So we have to first of all identify these kind of hazards. What are already existing or what may be a potential, maybe it may come in future. Okay, so both kinds of hazards we have to identify. Then we have to reduce or eliminate these kind of hazards, because as I said, hazard is an obstacle to the personnel working there. So we have to remove these kind of hazards, we have to eliminate them. And then we have to improve the job methods that can reduce what costs. If we improve our methods, then obviously the cost will also come down, and that will result in lesser employee absenteeism and better workers compensation as well, and can often lead to increased productivity. So we will get much better productivity. And the employees will also not avoid their work because they will know that they are working at a much safe place, okay, and they don't have any problems, and they will not be afraid of working on the machines because of the safety that has been provided by removing the hazards. So now we discuss the sequential steps in completion of a job. So first of all, what does the worker or the shop floor person does? He selects the proper kind of tool, because in any kind of manufacturing workshop or industry, we need certain kinds of tools to work upon the job as well as on the machine. So first of all, he will select a proper tool. Then he will employ that tool on the job. So the person there, he should also know the right method of employing the tool. Maybe he has to stand in a proper manner, or he may apply the tool at a certain angle to the job. So there are various things which come into play in this particular point. Then further on, one thing is a must for all kind of people working there, that they have to use proper personal protective equipment. And the short form for that is PPEs. So in the industry we call it as PPEs. That personal protective equipment is a must for all the personnel working in the shop floor or the workshop. Then there will be the job selection for safety analysis. So there are various kinds of job that require safety analysis. And what are the various kinds of jobs? Now I am discussing here. First one is the one-time job, meaning it will be done for one time only, no repetition of that job. It has to be done for once only. Then the second type is the rare type, meaning it can occur again and again, but it's very rare that it will happen for the second time. So that is called a rare kind of job. Then the third one is a special kind of job, meaning some special machinery or some special tool is needed to work. Okay, so that will be called a special type of job. And the fourth one, we all of us may be knowing, that is the routine type of job that is going to take place every day. So that comes on the priority list as number 4. And we have also to see the ambient work condition, because it is one of the most important parameters while conducting job safety analysis, meaning what are the kind of surroundings where the personnel is working. So the priority, then how we decide the priority for job safety analysis. First of all, we take up those jobs that have maximum number of disabling and life-threatening injuries and illnesses. So this will be on the topmost place, okay, in our priority list, because this is causing most difficulty to the personnel that is working there, as well as to the management, because it is causing disabling and life-threatening injuries to the people working. So in the priority list, it has to be on the number 1. Okay, and then the second one will be where accidents or mishaps, the jobs where accidents or mishaps were just prevented, meaning it was just going to happen and somehow somebody intervened, or some intervention was there and they somehow prevented that accident from taking place. So these type of jobs will be on the second number in the priority list. Then the third one is the jobs with process and procedure changes. So there may be certain jobs where certain processes are being used, but now these processes suppose are outdated or are not required, then they will have to be replaced by new processes and the procedure will change. So these type of jobs come at number 3 on the priority list. And finally, job safety analysis needs to be conducted and made available to employees for all the jobs in the workplace. So the first 3 were there, and then after that all the jobs will be taken up. And for doing this, actually, job safety analysis, we need to involve all the employees. That is very, very important, because we have to take them into confidence. And they should not be afraid that certain evaluation is being done or some other things are being done. We have to assure them that only job safety analysis is being done and there is no danger to their job or things like that. Okay, so taking the employee into confidence before job safety analysis is of prime importance. An employee should not feel that his job is being evaluated and he should not be intimidated. That's what I told you just now, that the person should not feel scared that his job is being evaluated and certain points will be given, or his promotion will be affected, or things like that. Okay, or his job is going to be affected. So we have to assure them that it is not their evaluation, but it is a process for job safety analysis. Instead, word should be spread that the job itself is being evaluated. That's what I told just now, that we have to take them into confidence and tell them that it is the job which is being evaluated and it is not the person who is doing the job who is being evaluated. And the very important thing is that views of the workers who have earlier performed the same job is indispensable, meaning we have to take the views of these people because they have done the job earlier and they have gained knowledge about the potential hazards and the recommended solutions as well for removing these hazards. So what will be the general inquiries on the condition of a job? So I have listed down some of these and I am just going to present before you. So first is that question that arises is that are there any materials lying loose on the shop floor? Sometimes certain materials just fall apart and nobody cares and it is just lying there. So it may be a hazard for a person working there and it should be removed immediately into the dustbin. Then the next question that arises is that is the lighting and ventilation adequate? Because when you are working in the shop floor or the workshop, then proper lighting should be there. Then only the person will be able to see the job and work on it. And ventilation obvious because he should not feel suffocated in that place. And the third question that comes up is that is there physical, biological, chemical or radiation hazard? So any kind of thing, any kind of these things, physical, biological, chemical or radiation hazard. And what kind of noise pollution is there, because noise pollution can affect the work of the person. He may get disturbed. And the further question is that is the operator well acquainted with the job procedures and their implementation? So the operator should be knowing about the steps in which that particular job has to be performed, and he should knowing the procedures about that beforehand. Okay, he should be well trained, and he should also know how to implement these things. So further questions are there, like are the fire and emergency exits properly marked, because it is very important. If some problem occurs, then he should immediately know where is that particular exit door or where is the fire door, from where he can get out of that place. Okay, so the signs should be there, properly marked. And the next question, are the controls on rotary machinery properly working? Very important, because rotary machinery can really harm the person that is working there. Then are the brakes, horns and steering for moving vehicles properly checked? Because if the brakes are not working properly, the vehicle can move in any direction and it can cause damage to anything or any personnel working there. And finally we see that the question is that are there employees with previous health problems on the job? So because this thing is needed, because we have to know if the operator who was working there has any previous health issue, because if it's a dangerous kind of job, we can remove such a person from there because he's already having health issue, and we can employ someone who is in a better health condition. So after seeing these kind of inquiries or questions regarding the jobs, we move on to the job steps analysis, how we are going to do that. So first of all, divide the job that has to be done into small parts or small job tasks. Okay, that has to be broken down, or we can say into steps. Okay, so this is the first thing. Then the very first part is to enlist each and every step of the job in the sequence that they occur. Then sequencing is very important. We decide the steps, and then further after that we decide the sequence in which these steps have to be performed. And we have to at the same time see how the employee is working on that particular job. We have to watch. And one should ensure to record enough information to describe each job action. So we are doing the job step analysis, so recording has also to be done. So we can keep a record of all the procedures or the processes in the particular job that is taking place. But one need not make the breakdown too exhaustive. We need not make that too exhaustive. Too many points have not to be noted. Important points have to be noted. And we have to consult the employee for the steps in job. We always have to take him in confidence. He should not be scared or intimidated by the job safety analysis. Further, we have to do a very important step, that is the hazard identification. We have to know what are the obstacles that are coming while performing that particular type of job. So the first point is that employee doesn't have proper personal protective equipment, that is PPE. So if this thing is there, then the job should not be done. The very first and foremost thing should be the safety, and one has to ensure that the person who is going to perform the job has proper personal protective equipment. That then only he can go to the shop floor and perform the job. This is the very first step. Then and if it is not there, then that means that the very basic thing is not there, and it's a big hazard. Okay. Then work positions, machinery, pits or holes, and hazardous operations, all these also come into hazards. So what kind of position he is getting into while performing the job, that person. Then the machinery itself can be a hazard. If it's a rotary type of machinery, or it's doing some cutting type of job, so it's a big hazard, and one has to be careful while working on these type of machines. Then pits and holes are there in the workshop or in the shop floor, then that can also be a hazard. So that's why these things are mentioned here. Then workers wearing clothing or jewelry or with long hair can also be hazard, because this hair can get stuck somewhere in the machinery, or the long clothing can get stuck, and then the moving machinery can pull yourself inside the machinery. So it's a very dangerous situation. Then there are certain fixed objects like sharp edges. Suppose a table is there which has a sharp edge, then it can also cause harm to the person working there. And the movement of worker, even the movement of the worker can be a hazard depending upon the workflow. And worker can at any time may be in off balance position also. So dangerous position of the working worker with respect to the machine is a big hazard. And possibility of worker getting caught in between moving parts, like I told you earlier, so it is also there, it's a hazard. And worker may be required to make movements that could lead to or cause hand or foot injuries, or restrain from lifting the hazards of repetitive motions. Worker may be struck by an object, or lean against or strike a machine part of the object. Then there is a probability of worker falling from one level to another. Then there is chance of injury to workers from lifting or pulling objects, or from carrying heavy objects. Then there are certain environmental hazards like the dust, chemicals, radiations, as we have discussed earlier also. Welding rays may be there, it causes harm to the eyes. Then excessive heat may be there, or noise may be there. So all these things come under hazards. Okay, and these are due to the performance on the job. So we can see here from the figures, it is much better to visualize these things, then the understanding is far better. As you can see in this figure, there is a table and it is a sharp edge. If you see in the left hand side at top, then there's a table which has got a sharp edge. So suppose if somebody falls on this sharp edge, it can just pierce his stomach. So it's a very big hazard. Then we have got this, if you come down to the left bottom, there's a machine where due to the type of clothing that worker is wearing, he gets stuck in that. It's a kind of a roller and he is getting rolled inside that. So very big hazard that. And then we have one more thing, like the employee is getting stuck between a roller and between a certain fixed wall is there. So he can get stuck there and get that can cause injury to that particular worker. Okay. Similarly, see here left hand side top figure, the worker there, he is trying to lift something, a carton is there, but the way he is doing that, it's not the right method to do so. Okay, because he can fall over and he can injure himself. Then further you can see right hand side top figure, and there you can see the worker is putting his hand at a certain position which may cause harm to this hand, because there are moving parts there and he is putting his hand inside that. So that's a very difficult position and it should be avoided. Then we see this figure where the left hand side bottom we can see that the ways of lifting a certain object. Okay, so there are two ways which are given, you can see from the figure, that is not right, which that is crossed. So these are the wrong ways, and the correct way is, it is given by a tick in green color. This is the correct way of lifting a certain type of object. We should do in that manner. Similarly, in the right hand side bottom, we can see how the head of a person is getting engaged in a certain crane type of thing, and he can get injured by this thing. Okay. So what will be the recommendations after seeing these kind of hazards and all those things in our job safety analysis procedure? So first is that job can be performed in other way to eliminate the hazards, such as combining steps or changing the sequence. Then additional safety equipments and precautions are needed to control the hazards. We can have other safety equipments there, or we can list down certain precautions, further precautions to prevent these mishappenings. An alternative or additional procedure is to videotape the worker performing his or her job and analyze the job procedures. So record how he is working on that, and then we can think of something better. And further point is that if safer and better job steps can be used, list each new step, such as describing a new method for disposing of material. Prepare exact list of what the worker needs to know to perform the job using a new method. Suppose a method is changed for working on a certain job. So the procedure and all those things, all the details about performing that job should be enlisted again, because it's a new method. Whether the recommendations are as specific as possible, so that there are no general statements like be careful. So we should not make any kind of general statement like just be careful, because we need to be specific about that kind of job that is being done. We need to give specific instructions for performing that job, not general statements like be careful. So one more thing that can be done is set up a training program using the job safety analysis to retrain your employees in the new procedures, retrain your employees, especially if they are working with highly toxic substances or in hazardous situations. So suppose we are working in a chemical industry and there are hazardous chemicals there. So retraining is very, very important. Then try to know whether any physical changes, such as redesigning of equipment, changing tools, adding machine guards, personal protective equipment or ventilation will eliminate or reduce the danger. Analyze whether hazards are still present after doing all these things. If yes, try to reduce the necessity for performing the job or the frequency of performing it. Suppose we are doing a certain job and the hazards exist after all the recommendations also, then we need to just get rid of that thing, or we need to perform it on a very rare basis. Also go over the recommendations with all employees performing the job. Their ideas about the hazards and proposed recommendations may be valuable, because they are performing the job regularly, so their ideas must be taken. And be sure that they understand what they are required to do and the reasons for the changes in the job procedures. So they should understand what they are required to do. That means that proper training should be given on performing that particular type of job in the shop floor or the workshop. And if there are certain changes, then we should also give them the reasons for the changes in the job procedures. So all these are the various recommendations for removing all kinds of hazards in our workplace and for making our workplace a safer area in which the workers will not be scared to work, and it will provide a better environment to all, even the machinery as well as the personnel working there. So this was all about job safety analysis. Thank you very much for this session.